Assalamu alaikum guys, this is your instructor Engineer Mian Ibad, and today we will start from where we left in our labs. We will be doing online lectures from now onwards for the rest of the semester, inshallah. And last time you people should remember that we did scripting, the bash scripting of Linux. So we did one part of that in the class. So I even didn't take the assessment of that because of the situation. So first of all, I would give you assessment of the previous lab, but I would add a little bit more to that we have in our lab manual, the part 2 of shell scripting. It doesn't have anything very advanced. It just have if and while loops in it. So that will be added to your lab assessment with the part first of the shell scripting. Anyways, in today's lab we will start the C programming in Linux, how we execute it, how we run it, and how can we use different functions of C programming. That is, we'll discuss a little bit about the basic concepts of pointers in C, how can you pass parameters to functions by pointers, how can you use arrays in C language, how can you use structures, and how can you use other simple basic C programs. Anyways, so let's open the shell script, Control Alt T as a shortcut, and now let's traverse to the directory in which we want to write our programs. So I would write ls. I hope you remember these commands, ls, cd, make directory, because we have already covered these. So ls, I have to go to the work directory. I would write cd work, then I would see ls, then I have to go to operating systems lab, so cd operating systems lab, then again ls, I have to go to the lab 3, so cd lab 3, and let's clear it. Okay, so now let's make our first a very basic C programming language file. So I would use the gedit for this. So gedit. Okay, if you guys do not have gedit installed in your Linux, you just simply write sudo apt get install gedit, and once you press enter, so it would install the gedit. Anyways, I would write gedit, and let's say task.c. You have to write the extension .c along it. Let's open it. Okay, first of all, you people should have done C++ programming. So what's the first step in any programming language? You have to import the libraries. So here the C language is almost like C++, but the syntax is a little bit different. So I would write hashtag include stdio.h, right? Then I would start the int main, and I would simply write return 0 as in C++, right? As a law, I must say we should first print the hello world. I would write hello world, right? So you use print f, and then you write hello world. Let's save it and let's execute it. Okay, so now how do you execute a C language file in Linux on a terminal, basically using gedit? We have to write gcc, it's a gedit compiler, then you write task.c, the file name, then you write -o, and then the file name task. Press enter. It has been compiled. Now to run it, just simply as we have used in previous labs, so /task. So here you have hello world. It's to enter a new line just reopen the file, and I would write \n. Let's okay, so I cannot rerun it again like this, because if I rerun it, it has not been recompiled basically. So first you have to recompile it. For that you have to use the gcc command. So gcc again task.c-o and task name. Now when you run it, so you can see that the new line has been added to the hello world. Okay, let's clear the screen and let's go to a simple example in which we make a function in C, and we pass two values, and then we return the sum of those values. And here we will be covering the parameters passed by value. Anyways, let's open the same file. You can make different files. So let's write, just remove this. First of all, let's make a simple function, same as C++ language. Let's name it add, and I would use two variables in it, and what I have to do, I have to return the sum of x plus y, right? Now let's come to the main. What would I write? I'll make, let's say, two variables. Then I would ask the user to input the values of a and b. So I would write printf. Okay, by the way, while programming, you should first go through the C programming language lab in the lab manual that I've provided you, so it would be a little bit easier for you to grasp the concepts. Anyways, you have to write int please, and please enter the values for a and b. The values for a and b, right? And a \n for the ornamental purposes. Now we have to input the values. So in C++ you used to write cin. Here we will use scanf. And one other difference, that is whatever you want to input from the user in the C language, you have to write the data type of that input. Let's say in this case I want to input two integers, so I would write two decimal values. If I want to enter, let's say, a string from a user, if I need a string from a user, let's say his name, so I would write as I would specify the data type as the string, that is s. So in this case I would use the decimal. So I would use I would want to enter two decimals. Then let's write pass by values, so a and b, right? These are it's how to input the values from the users. Anyways, now let's print f again, and let's print the result. So the result is, again, if I want to print something, I have to give the values, the data type of that, and I would call the function add that we have previously defined, and I would pass the value, the two variables by values. So I would write a and b, right? So now let's save it. I hope there is no error in the program. How do I check it? I have to recompile the file. Okay, it's clean. Now let's run the file task. So it prompts that please enter the values for a and b. Let's say for a I give it the value of 10, and for b I give it a value of, let's say, 20. So the answer should be 30. So the answer is, the result is 30. Okay, so this is how you pass a value of a variable to a function by value. So it's known as parameters passed by value. Okay, so for your own understanding and for your own learning, please try different functions in here and try to learn the passed by value functions. Okay, now let's talk about a little bit about the pointers. Basically, what is a pointer? You should already know, but let's revise it. So basically, a pointer, it's a variable to store the address value of some other variable. So how do you define it? You write, let's say if it's an integer pointer, you write int star and then the name of the pointer, let's say ptr. That's used widely. So without any delay, let's go again to the file and let's edit it. Again, you can use different files for this, just for learning purpose. So I'm using the same one. Okay, so in this case, let's not use a function. Let's just have a grasp of the simple concept of pointers. Anyways, so I would declare a variable a and then a pointer int star p, let's say. Okay, so I have declared a variable a and a pointer star p. Okay, now I would print, let's say, and ask the user to enter some integer. So enter an integer \n would be beneficial, and then let's, as we did previously, let's scan the result. Okay, so in this case, what would I write? I would write a single decimal here, because we want to we want the user to enter only one value. Now I would write and a, right? Okay, so we have got the value of a from the user. Now what would I do? I would assign the address of a to the pointer, right? What would I write? I would write p is equal to the address of a. Basically, you must know, or if you don't know, so and is used for the address of a variable, star is used for the value of a variable, right? So the address of the variable a is now stored in this pointer p. Okay, so now we can test different things. Let's say I write printf the value of the variable. Let me just write it first. So the value of variable a is d, and it would be a. Let's copy paste it again. Now let's see what's the address of the variable a. Is if it's an address, you should write x with it, and that would be and a, because I've already said that. Okay, let's use this with it, so it seems good. Let's reprint it. The value of variable p is it should be a, since p is a pointer, so we should use x with it. Variable p. Okay, now let's say the value pointed by p is star p. And the address of p is again it should be an x \n, so we can understand the results better. And to get the address, we would write and p. Okay, so now let's run this. Let's first compile it. Okay, so there are some errors. What are the errors? Warning. Okay, these are warnings. These are not errors, most probably. Yeah. So let's run it. It says enter an integer. Let's say I use the value 10 for a. So it says that the value of the variable a is 10. Let's open the file along. So the first one is the value of the variable a, right? So it would definitely be the value. So I would write it would say it is 10. Then the address of variable a is, we have written an ampersand sign with it, so it would be the address of variable a. Again, the value of the variable of p. So what is stored in a pointer? I've already told you that the address of the a variable will be stored in pointer. So what would be the value of p? It would be simply be the address of the variable a. See, both of these are same. Then the value pointed by p is 10. P holds the address of a, but it is pointing to the value of a basically. So whatever the value of a would be, p would be pointing to that. So it should definitely be 10. And the address of the pointer, because p is the pointer is also a variable in itself, so it also have some address. So the address of the pointer p is this, right? Okay, right. Now let's use the concept of pointers, and we should pass the values to a function. We should declare a function, and then we'll pass the values by pointers. Anyways, let's open the file, just remove everything from here, and let's make a new function. Okay, so since we are passing the values by pointer, so we do not need anything in return from the function, because if you store anything in a pointer, so that is stored globally. So if the function is over, it doesn't mean that the variable will be flushed off. The values of the pointer will always be there. So if we do not need anything from the functions to get returned, we would simply write a void, that it's a void function. It does not return anything. So let's assume the name is a, and I write int x, int y, and a variable pointer int star, let's say z, right? Now simply write star z is equal to x plus y. Simple as that, right? Now come to the main. I would write int a b c, let's see, or a b p, a pointer basically. Now I would write printf enter values for a and b, \n. Now let's take input from the user by scanf. So again, I would be using 2 decimals because I need 2 inputs. If we wanted to input let's say the name of the user or something else in string, so I would write s for that, but let's use d here. So take it by values a and b, right? Now call the function add A, B, and the address of this pointer, and %p, right? So what would it do? It would send the values of A here, the B to the Y, and the address of this variable, that is P, to this pointer, right? So it would be saved here. So then just simply print F. That's right. Again, the result is, it would be again a single D \n, and let's write the value of P simply. So we haven't returned anything from the function, but let's be hopeful that we get the answer because we have used pass by pointer. Let's save it and let's recompile it. First let's clear everything. Let's recompile it. I hope there are no errors. That's good. Now let's run it. Enter values for A and B. Again, let's give it 10 and 20. So the answer is 30. Okay. Okay. Now the next topic that I will be covering with you guys is arrays. How do we initialize arrays? How do we give it the allocation in memory, and how do we use it basically? So let's reopen the file, that is gedit. Let's remove everything. Okay. For example, I want to have I want to create 3 arrays, and then I would read data in the first 2 arrays, like let's give it a maximum size of let's say 5. So the size of every array would be 5. I would read integers from the customers into the first 2 arrays, then I'll subtract the first array from the second one, and I'll save the result in the third array. So let's do that. I would write, okay, first of all you have to define a maximum size for your array. Let's say define max underscore size. Let's say that is 5. Okay, so now it would be easy to write 5 here. Instead of 5 you can use max size here. So int first array, let's say, and the it should be max underscore size. Then second array, max underscore size, and the third array, or I must say a resultant array, max underscore size. Okay, now let's get values from the customer, from the user. Please enter this much values in the array. How much values? Max size, right? Okay, now we have to get 5 values from the user. So for that we have to use a for loop which starts from 0 to a maximum of 5. So it would have 5 iterations. So for that I would write for I equals 0, I is less than the max underscore size. See, what's the benefit of this max underscore size? As I have already defined it, let's say I want to have I want to extend my array to 10 values. I would just simply write 10 here. I do not need anything to be changed here. So let's get back and simply I plus plus. Okay, let's also initialize the value, the integer I that we have used here. Okay, I would write scan f and value d, and where would I store it? In the first, at the first location of the first array. So it will get 5 values. You have to start at 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4. At 4 the for loop will break and it will go further. Okay, so now let's just copy paste it since we are doing the same again. Please enter values in the second array. I would write second. Right, so here we take the values from the users. Now what I have to do, I'll make a new for loop having the same values as here, and I would simply subtract the first array from the second. So I'll use the resultant array I equals first, or let's say second minus first. That would be more appropriate. Second minus first. Right, so what would it do? It would have 5 iterations. In the first iteration it would subtract the first value of the second array from the first value of the first array till the 5 values. Anyways, now again, how if I want to print the values of the resultant array, I simply have to write printf okay, let's use /n with all of them, so we don't have any problem. Save it and let's run it and let's compile it. Basically, I hope there are no problems. There's an error of max size. Okay, I've used a wrong max size. Where is the error? In line number column 50, column 7. Okay, here max underscore size. Max underscore size. Let's recompile it. Okay, it has been compiled. Now let's run it. Let's give it values of let's say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now to the second array I would give values of, let's say 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. So the resultants are 90, 180 and so on. So from the first array it has deducted 10, from the second it has deducted 20, then 30, then 40, and then 50. Okay, so we have successfully done it. Now let's clear again. Okay, now we'll use structures in C language. What are structures? Structures are basically we make a variable in which there are other variables, so that variable is known as a structure. Let's open the file and let's make a structure. Okay. Okay, so first of all, now let's make a structure using having a name of student. So we have to write struct student and semicolon at the end. Now let's write let's say we take the name and ID of the student. So a name of the data type char, that is character variable, and having a maximum size of 20. Then I would say ID int ID, right? Now coming to the int main, let's define different structures. So for that I would write struct student s1 s2. Let's say I make two structures, two objects of the one structure, that is student. So the objects are s1 and s2. So let's print f, please enter student name and ID. Student names and IDs. Okay. Now let's take it from the users. Scan F. What would I take from them? First would be a string, that would be a name, and then their IDs. So I would simply write and s1 dot name along with and s1 ampersand s1 dot ID. Now same is the case with the second one. Just change the object name to s2. Now write say print the students names and IDs are printf first one would be a string and the second one would be a decimal, an integer. I would write s1 dot name and s1 dot ID, right? And same is the case with the second one. We can make several objects, s3, s4, you can give it any name. Right. Let's run this code. Let's compile it first, basically. Okay, these are warnings, no issues, there's no error. Now let's run it. Please enter the students' names and IDs. Let's give it a name of Ali, and his ID is, let's say, 1. He's a newcomer in a new institute. Okay, now give it Ahmed, and it should be a 2. So the students' names and IDs are Ali, and it has a value of 1, and then Ahmed, it has a value of 2. Sorry, I forgot a backslash n here, so it would be in the next line. Let's do it so it's clear. Backslash n here. We can have several. Okay, let's try it first. Let's compile it. Only warnings. Okay, and now let's run it. So Ali being the first student and Ahmed being the second student. So Ali 1 and Ahmed 2. Okay, so this was about the using structures in the C language. Right, so I guess let me just check the content of this lab. I guess this is all for it. There's one other thing as enumeration, but you can just do it by yourself, because enumeration is just used for boolean in the C language. You have already used bool in C++, but in C language we do not have bool, so we have to define it first, because like after the library definition, we should write enum and then give it the values of false is equal to 0 and true is equal to 1. So it's just simple as that. It is there in the lab manual. Okay, so this was all about the lab about the C language. So if there is any problem in this lab, just tell your CRs, they'll let me know, and I will take an online class and solve your issues. And if there's no issue, then that's very nice, and I would upload the lab assessments. I would upload 2 lab assessments, one for the previous one that that you did not submit to me. So that will contain 2 parts. The first part would be the shell scripting part 1, and the second one would be shell scripting part 2, and that has the if else and while statements. The second assessment would be based on this C language lab. So that was all for today. If there is any problem, please you can email me on my official email address, or you can contact me by any means. Thank you so much. Enjoy.